Good morning, everyone. I'm Emily Liu, and today I'm going to introduce Roger Cox. Roger Cox is a warrior lawyer fighting for the green rights and for the sake of the environment. And this is the outline for today's presentation. First, we will start with the introduction about Roger Cox, and then I will talk you through the two cases that made him known by the world. After that, we will try to see the impact of his actions. Lastly will be the conclusion, with a short summary of the whole presentation and some of my personal thoughts. And we will save the Q&A section after the conclusion. So let's move straight to our topic. Who is Roger Cox? So I know some might have never heard of his name before, but Roger Cox is a lawyer from the Netherlands at the age of 53. He is an environmental activist who fights for green rights and human rights. And there are two cases that he is famous for, which are both we're going to talk about today. The first was the case between the State of Netherlands and Agenda Foundation. The other one was the case between Milieu Defensetel and Royal Dutch Shell. And this name, it is a Dutch name, and it's hard for me to pronounce it accurately. So I will just refer it to the Green Group later on. So the first case, the State of Netherlands versus Agenda Foundation. This case is about a group of citizens suing their own government. So the Agenda Foundation is a climate activist group founded in 2008, and it represents the interests of about 900 Dutch citizens, and Roger Cox is on this side. So, a little background story. Before the lawsuit was filed, Agenda wrote to the Dutch government urging them to commit a 40% reduction in carbon dioxide levels by 2020. But the Dutch government replied that 40% reduction was a too aggressive goal, and they will only do so if other EU countries have the same goal. So after that, Agenda sued the state in 2013. Their argument was that the government has the duty to manage carbon dioxide emissions from the country and reducing the nation's contribution to climate change. So by using the word duty was because the government has made legal commitments before, such as United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1982 and the Paris Agreement in 2015. And against that, the state of Netherlands argued that the nation's net contribution of carbon dioxide emission was not as significant as other major countries. They contributed less than 2% of the global emissions. And so the district court ruled in 2015 in the favor of Agenda. So they won. And required the Netherlands government to achieve a 25% reduction in carbon dioxide emissions by 2020. And why? The court agreed because the court agreed that the carbon dioxide emission will have an impact on the environment. And they also believed that the Dutch government was legally bound to reduce emission to protect human life. And to support the idea, here's a quote from the court ruling. The state should not hide behind the argument that the solution to the global climate problem does not depend solely on Dutch efforts. So Roger Cox played an important role in this case and helped win this case. And this made his name known by many people. And you might notice that the result of the case was announced in 2015. So why is he in the 2021 list? To answer this question, we will need to take a look at case 2. The second case is also a class action lawsuit associated with the curtail of carbon dioxide emission. This case is also a tough one. A group of normal citizens trying to sue a large corporation. This time, Roger Cox is with this side, the environmental activist side, or we will call it the Green Group side. And Shell should not be a stranger to us. It is one of the largest oil and gas companies in the world. Most of us may have heard its name or recognize its logo. And it is also the ninth largest corporate contributor to global pollution. It produced about 1% of global emissions per year. Before the case started, Shell stated that Paris targets were unattainable for them and released an alternative plan. Paris targets was the agreement in 2015, but the environmental activists, they saw the plan far slower than the requirements, and they were also unhappy that Shell did not plan to change its business models away from oil and gas. So therefore, in 2018, the Green Group started a lawsuit against Shell. The Green Group argued that by changing its business models to invest more in renewable energy, Shell could reach a lot closer to the emission reduction targets. And Shell responded that it was already doing its part and in reducing carbon dioxide emissions. And to address a challenge this big requires a collaborative and global approach. So they think that Shell itself can't do it. They need more to work together. And the court issued its decision in May 26, 2021. In its ruling, the court found Shell's current policy to be insufficiently concrete, which means that they had doubts of Shell's alternative plans. They don't think that they might actually roll out successfully. Also, Shell's emissions were greater than most of the countries. And due to these factors, the court ordered that the Shell must reduce its global emissions by 45% by 2030, and the Green Group won. So these two cases are both historic cases. Case 1 was the first case taken against a government about climate change based on Human Rights Foundation. Case 2 was considered the first major suit to hold a corporation to the tenets of Paris Agreement. So how do these two successful cases impact the world? We need to take a closer look at Roger Cox's statements. So Roger Cox once stated that climate change will be the biggest human rights violation ever. And this will lead to one of Roger Cox's most important arguments, that the green rights, not just a theory, but is actually a part of human rights. And since it is a part of human rights, everyone, including the government and firms, have the responsibility to respect it and implement it. Therefore, inaction is not longer an option. And the cases we just discussed helped discredit the idea that individual states cannot make a difference to climate change. And also encouraged by the victory of these two cases, more environmental groups that agree with Roger Cox's idea decided to stand up for climate justice before the court, and they might use these two successful cases as reference. The results are mixed. Sometimes they win and sometimes they don't. But at least I think it is a good start. The method of urging governments or corporations to follow climate agreements through law has proved to be feasible. And we are coming to the end of this presentation. And in this presentation, we talked about who Roger Cox was, what he has accomplished, and the impact of his actions. He was chosen as the top 100 most influential people in 2021 because of his great contribution in climate justice. And I agree that he deserves this honor. For me, I think the most admirable part is that he proves that the law can be a tool to protect normal citizens' rights, even if the rival is a nation's government or a huge international corporation. So I think the actions and the results of Roger Cox can bring courage to more people around the world. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you. And now we can have the Q&A time.
Thank you very much, Emily. I think so. Again, I think Emily has presented a very strong case for Richard Cox. Maybe some of you haven't heard of this person before, but I think now after the presentation, you can know clearly how he has contributed to the efforts to slow down global warming. So I would like to again invite some questions and comments. So feel free to speak.
Hi, Emily.
Yes.
I want to make some comment, and I like the structure of your presentation, and it's a very novel way to use the case to bring out his influence, and you did a great job in your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Justin, for the very positive comment. I do agree with you. Very good. So can we have another question or comment?
Hi, I'm David, and I want to make some comment that I think your introduction with keywords and which can help me understand faster and more impressive because this area is not something I don't usually get into know it. So I thank you for your presentation that I know this guy. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments too.
Yeah. Thank you, David, for the comment. Very good. So do you have another question or comment?
Hi Emily, I'm Hope, and thank you for your hard working on this such important issues. And I just want to ask, what kind of key elements of him that you think it helps him to win the lawsuit or makes him distinguished from the other lawyers?
Oh, I think for me, first he needs like a really smart brain, and also he needs courage. I mean, like he is the lawyer. He is against the corporation or the government, which means they have money and they have the power to hire a lot of a really professional or experienced lawyer, and he is one against all of them. I think it takes courage to do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Hope, for the important question. All right. I think I just maybe make some simple comments. Yeah. I think Emily has done again an amazing job. I think I really like how you try to show high fluency in your own presentation. I think also the whole speech content is really well articulated. I also like the fact that I think you really try to use very simple and clear way to explain the two legal cases which Richard Cox won. Yeah, I think I also like how you describe them as historic cases. Right. So let's give Emily a big hand again for her outstanding job.
Thank you.